There's a very powerful statement that I saw that you have made, and I'm very impressed by it. So I'm going to start with that statement, which is empowered women empower other women. It is a lovely statement, and you strongly believe in it, and even I too believe in it, actually. So you're also a believer in giving back to the society, and because of this interest, you founded the Chorus Women Happiness World and also Kamakhya, which is a plastic-free menstruation campaign. And this Chorus is now recognized as a startup. You have been very keen, I read that, in making a difference to the environment, and which has, I think, maybe one of the reasons why it prompted you to start Kamakhya with a group of doctors and trainers and volunteers. And it was launched last year in Jan 2020. And through Kamakhya, you have distributed more than 10,000 pads across the country and also conducted a number of awareness sessions, both online and offline. And also you're helping a lot of women switch to cloth pads. I'm very happy to know about it. And of course, you've been recognized with quite a few awards. Few of them, one of them is Women of Wonders. And it's no wonder that you've received it.
Thank you, ma'am.
So welcome to the live today. And we are going to have a nice chat about one of my favorite topics too. So first, I would like to ask a little about yourself. How
Sure.
would you describe yourself?
So when I come to describing myself, like you mentioned about the statement that empowered women empower women. So anything from a startup to the non-profit organization, all just belong to either women, women sustainability, women health, or just incubating women. So everything just goes around women. Because I feel it's not a feminism. I would not call myself a feminism, but it's like a femtor is a word. So basically, you're just mentoring a lot of being a female mentor, mentoring other females. So that way, like if you say to describe myself, I mean that's what I think I am when it comes to various aspects. Like even when I talk about ISKCON, right? So it's more like I know it's about I am a person who loves to give people. Like if I see an issue, I really feel like how can I reach to a solution, be it anything. But definitely women is like, let's say a strong point or my weak point where I get just a little more attracted to it.
That's very nice. And that's one.
Second is I think I just love exploring new things when it comes to this thing. So it's like I have very diverse degrees, or let's say I've just done a diploma in something very different and masters into something very different. So like I like being explored. So like I was a yoga national player, but then I also got trained under to become a fitness trainer. But like I don't do anything in fitness, but it's just that I love gaining new things and exploring. So that's I think one thing about myself. And for me, I think I'm a hustler. Right? I mean, I can't keep still. Like I just want to keep working on new things.
So learning is your passion.
Yeah, like now also I'm still very young, but now also like after doing masters, I want to do another masters or I want to do a PhD irrespective. So yeah.
Okay, that's lovely. And what is the third thing that you would say that characterizes you or it resonates with you?
I think recently I've noticed that a lot of people tend to seek, call me to seek help when they want to start something, like even my age group or anyone. So I think I feel that I have that aroma which attracts people to even try to seek help from me.
So you effuse a kind of a, I wouldn't say an empathy, not just an empathy, but it goes beyond that in the sense that people feel that if they reach out to you,
They
they
might
would be able
to, or things might just become easier. They might get a solution, or things might just become easier of what they're thinking, be it in any aspect.
Yeah, that's lovely. So basically, the two things that mainly describe you as something where you are reaching out to people. That seems to be the main thing.
Yeah.
And of course, about exploring.
Right.
Lovely. So, why did you start this movement, Kamakhya? Before you actually, no, let us go before Kamakhya. What were you doing before that?
So
Before you started?
Before Kamakhya, I was running Chorus. So Chorus was launched 3 years back. While I was doing my masters, we launched it with the team. So I had my team back in Surat, and that's what we were doing Chorus. And what happened with Chorus is it's a startup where we start incubating women with very micro businesses. When we say micro businesses, it's something very simple, from making envelopes to just making jewelries at home, or maybe a home caterer. So, helping them grow their social media presence, or let's say helping them grow their marketing skills, helping them conduct workshops. So that is, so I was in a touch with women like on a daily basis. That's when I realized that women actually always put their health or their priorities as a second or a third thing, and they always have the family, the children as the first priority. So that's what I started noticing, because, for example, at Chorus, we would organize a workshop for kids. All mothers are coming from all the areas and making sure, oh, kids should gain something. At the same time, you just do some knowledge giving for women. They'll be like, बच्चों का school है, this is that, this excuse, this. So that's what we notice, that when it comes to them, they put themselves back. So that's when I realized that's when I started noticing, even it comes to women health also, that is when they're putting it back. And when we talk about women health, one main thing started coming was menstrual health. As if you notice, like we all, so at nowadays, menarche starts by 10, maximum 10 or 11. Maybe it was 14, 15 in earlier, like in our mother's age. But now, so you menstruate from itself, from let's say 12 years or 11 years to, let's say 45 or 50 years of menopause. And let's assume that you're living 80 years according to the lifestyle we are at. So more than half your life, you're menstruating every month. But what you're doing is that menstrual health is so important as a female or as a woman, or let's say menstruators. But you always consider menstruation as, oh, it's normal, whatever happens is fine, they don't want to pay attention to it. Like, if anything happens, people, if it's scanty, if it's heavy, people don't take care of it. They're like, it's a normal thing, it has been happening for years, it's normal. So that is when, so now if you don't pay attention on your menstrual health, when we talk about women health, that is when we started noticing that we need to do something to explain people that, oh, menstrual health is important, because that's more than half of your life. Every month you're bleeding. And we have, like, whenever we take sessions, we tell them, imagine your side effects can be immense, like not during menstruation. I've seen people that when they finish, like when they get the menopause, they're getting something like major, not disease, I would say, but like major deficiencies and all. But the reason they find out is due to excess bleeding in their menstruating life. They never made sure that nutrition has gone, or they've never taken care, they've overexerted it. So, I mean, that is the main thing. So while before Kamakhya, I was doing Chorus, and that's what actually like started opening our eyes that women are not taking care of themselves, basically. And I think that's what Kamakhya thing.
Sorry, what did you say?
I'm thinking, and that's how Kamakhya came into the picture, because of, trying to do something only on their menstrual health.
Menstrual health. Okay. Actually, I while I was researching about Kamakhya, because I did not know about this term Kamakhya and the legend attached to it about the goddess Kamakhya, it was very fascinating for me. I couldn't believe that there is a temple in Assam, in Guwahati, about an goddess called Kamakhya, which is a menstruating goddess.
Yeah,
this is something which the traditional, this is, any menstruating woman cannot go into the temple, cannot do should not be anywhere near puja part. And here there is a temple which is about the goddess, and which is Shakti, part of Shakti, what the story is. So was that what tempted you, or was that the inspiration behind you?
So
Okay.
Kamakhya name comes from Kamakhya Devi itself because
Mm-hmm.
there's a festival called Ambubachi festival which Kamakhya temple they celebrate in summers. So we have not been
Okay.
able to get a chance to go actually to that festival due to COVID from last year. So there
Uh-huh.
are sadhus, there are people from all across the country. They just go to worship the menstruating blood of Kamakhya Devi. So there is this
Okay.
white cloth, and the temple is shut for 3 days during Ambubachi, and there's entire fair
Mhm.
around the entire area. So there's a point also called Kamakhya Devi Point. People go for sightseeing. So everyone just goes to get that white cloth with the blood stains because that's considered holy. Okay, in the Ambubati
Okay.
festival. And
Very
if you see
interesting.
videos, if you research more about it, you'll see. So there are sadhus who are like, who are so only few pandits and sadhus are allowed during Ambubachi inside the temple. So, they have
Mm-hmm.
Kamakhya Devi ka blood and also people like touch their feet. So the point of we having the name as Kamakhya was we belong to India, right? So for us, whatever we believe in goddesses and god a lot, so we believe into the
Mm-hmm.
mythological. So the point is when Kamakhya is a sign of, like you said, Shakti, womanhood, strength. So when you can worship a goddess's blood when it's so pure, then why is period blood bad? So just to emphasize and
Absolutely.
simplify or like symbolize that, we got the name Kamakhya.
That's a wonderful thing that you have really struck upon. And I think we should just keep spreading the word around everywhere that there is a temple like this and people worship it. So why not? Why should a woman be said unpure when she's menstruating?
Yeah, so when you can go and worship a goddess's period menstruating blood, then
Hmm.
what is the harm about the other women who are menstruating?
Yeah, true, absolutely. So there is also this term which is very often being used nowadays, which is known as this period poverty.
Yeah.
What would you mean by it? Especially, what would you say that it means? Like somebody who does not have any idea about it.
So for period poverty in a very layman language, I would say is lack of accessibility of the products, not being able to, so I would just not say lack, but second thing I would say is lack of knowledge is also period poverty. Is because nowadays a lot of NGOs are going in distributing pads. But if they do not know how to throw it, how to dispose it, how to use it, or let's say wash it, then what's the point of giving? That's still bringing back. So period
Yeah.
poverty in a very layman language is that they don't have the period products, they don't have an infrastructure. In
Mhm.
infrastructure, we say that they don't have washrooms or they don't have toilets made. Like people have to go in the farm. So when you're menstruating, they're going in the farm to change things. So that is
Mm.
what we mean to say in period poverty. So lack of product, lack of accessibility, and lack of infrastructure. And lack of knowledge is what I would say very simply is what period poverty is in terms of menstruation.
In India, I think one in five girls definitely miss their school during periods, or is it more incidents?
Right
Two
now,
in five.
according to the research, 1 to 5, but we cannot realize because research on menstruation is actually missing out in India. So we cannot like say, but maybe more. And
Yeah,
pandemic
maybe
has,
more
I
actually.
think, even made it worse. Period
Yeah.
poverty, the bar has, I think, how much we worked for over years to get the bar high, but I think pandemic
Mm-hmm.
actually reduced the bar. The only reason is that girls started staying back home. India started taking out that if they're going to school, they started getting free sanitary products. Schools are shut. They're staying back home. The money coming to the house became very because daily wage workers it was affected. So money is not there. They're not getting that money to buy. And obviously, let's say you're getting suppose 200 in a day, they'll focus it on buying on the ration or something. Obviously, for them, period product comes in a very last step. So then they were
Yeah.
forced to use cloth. They don't know how to use cloth. So there's too much of lack of knowledge there. There was no money to buy, even if it was available. And at the same time, because now everyone is restricted in the house. So there are a lot of myths also that you can't sleep here, you can't sleep there. So it just started increasing. So period poverty has drastically fallen due to pandemic.
Or rather, we could say that poverty has increased much more because of the pandemic.
Yeah, and I think when people just talk about in pandemic that garibi बढ़ रहा है, poverty is increasing, but I feel like when we talk about periods, I think that irrespective of pandemic, everyone is still menstruating. So the products
Yeah.
needs to be accessible still in respect of any pandemic coming down. I feel there should be
And I
more
think,
conversation about how it's affecting, and I think more and more action should be taken.
and especially because as you mentioned earlier, because the financial condition went down so much, especially within the poor sector. And as it is, they found it very difficult to access these products. And with this financial situation becoming bad, the products literally became unavailable. And I'm sure the menstrual hygiene went down because they would have used whatever cloth they found.
Right.
They would not have been able to clean it properly, not dry it properly. And of course, all the various shame and stigma attached to a menstrual cloth being found anywhere. So they will all hide it and put it somewhere, and that would really be.
And
I'm sure
also,
the incident
also,
infection.
yeah. But also at the same time, so a lot of villages, because a lot of people in the villages or rural sector started having that thing that people living in cities only have corona, let's say. So what happened? The NGOs also they became helpless because the villages stopped allowing them to come in to distribute things, because they had a scare that people are coming from the cities to do, so they might get the virus in their villages. So that also the transportation also got very restricted. So it's very
Yes.
hard to convince a person in a village that let us do will keep. So a lot of challenging things came into the picture.
Mm-hmm. So how did you all face these challenges?
So luckily,
What?
I mean, we were very new when we launched, I think Jan 2020, like you mentioned, and after 2 months pandemic hit us. So we were very clueless. But we started getting organizations who had their setups in villages. So we took like at least 3 sessions. One was in a home shelter in Navi Mumbai. There's a village near Bhopal. We took online Zoom 8 sessions with them in terms to tell them how they can use things around right now.
Which village are you talking about? Near Bhopal, you said? Name?
Oh, I can't recall. It's 120 kilometers away from Bhopal. It's run by Abhaya karke, an NGO has taken over that village. So they made that arrangements there. So they would they had trained a girl there. So because obviously they were also not allowed. So that girl would come over Zoom and she would like try to set it up and place it in a way. So and we took a lot of online sessions. Like we had Katha India as an NGO partner. So they had women for for livelihood. So they all would switch on Zoom on their phone. We would explain them how to switch it on. So we trained them with their stitching machines how to make their own cloth pads. Like that we did with house helpers in Gorakhpur. So luckily we got access points across the country to take sessions with them. And obviously the field work became very zero. But what we started doing is like in Surat, we started contacting the MLAs here, so they would allow us, you go here and distribute. Then at the same time, we had other NGOs who we would transport our pads in Odisha, like in Delhi and all. So they would start distributing how much ever they could in and around. So that's how we tackled it. And now also when to do distributions, we just take permission. We will not gather more than 25 people. Let us do a session. So I mean, that's how we started. So we've done a lot of offline and online combined things. But luckily, we had a lot of support from various organizations and even from Surat, let's say, our SMC heads and everyone.
So this way you could manage to distribute more than 10,000 pads across the country.
Yeah. So 10,000.
So even now.
Yeah. You were saying even now?
Now also it's going on, that work?
Yeah. So 10,000 is something we'd mentioned over like the Jan end when pandemic was this thing. But now we've done a lot more, and recently we did a fundraiser to distribute more pads, and now we get our pads stitched through other low marginal women across the city. So we're getting it stitched by them, we pay them, and then we distribute those pads. So that's how we've
So
been
you
doing for the last 3 months or so.
okay. So how much has the number come to?
So right now we were calculating it's come to, let's say, 13,000 or something, because now we're distributing ourselves. So we just going to areas like 25 women and distributing pads, 30 women, very small groups. And like recently
Mhm.
we have a hygiene kit also with 4 cloth pads stuff. So we had parcel 150 hygiene kits to Pune village. Mulshi Valley, mein there are 12 villages, so we've tapped 2 villages right now. So right now
Okay.
our idea is to make sure that we are setting up small women livelihood like us SHG groups in parts of the country. So right now, like after Surat, we have Pune, Mulshi Valley. There are 2 villages we have tapped in. We have an
Mhm.
organization with them. They've tapped in Chennai mein 5 women. So we'll give them the training, and we're trying to so initially we'll courier them the raw material, then we'll start at the same time start trying to procure it locally. So the idea
Okay.
is to set up the SSGs in various parts of the country and to keep distributing it in the various parts. So that's what the recent model we've opted.
Okay. So you are basically distributing this kits. What all is there in that kit?
So the kit we have is 4 cloth pads. So these cloth pads, we getting it, like I mentioned, made by these low marginal women. We have a 2 meter rope. Then we
Mhm.
have 4 cloth clips to dry it. We have a bowl to wash it, and we have a soap. That's what a cup is. So basically, like because we have had people complaining, हमारे पास सुखाने के लिए जगह नहीं होता, so we've given them the rope and the cloth clips. Then this is store करने के लिए नहीं है. So it's like a kit. It's like a plastic box, like we putting
Mhm.
not plastic but like a box where we put things and we shut it. So basically,
Mhm.
that's for the storage also.
Okay. So this is a very important thing that you're mentioning, especially, you are even telling them that it has to be hung properly and dried properly, and and of course it is reused
Yeah.
and washed properly. So everything is all grown organically. It is all reusable and organic.
So let's say the cloth pad we making is completely out of the reused cloth. So the inside material, we using it the cotton towels or the cotton bed sheets. So any
Okay.
used cotton towels and bed sheets we take as a donation from houses, and we have other towel companies who've like given us a lot of like 100 kg towels. That's our inner layer,
Mm-hmm.
and for the outer 2 layers, we're procuring. So it's a textile city. So, we get all the cut pieces of these cotton cloths, which are unused, but it's cut, right? So
Unused.
even if they give us like half a meter, 1 meter, we pull out like, let's say,
Yeah.
2 pads out of it. So then we cut it in our industries and we give it to the women for stitching. And then it's reused because we teach them how to wash it and how to dry it. And they can keep using.
Right. Okay, so this is a very interesting thing that you're saying, especially you're buying, getting the cloth, which is actually, maybe from the tailors or something, when they make a kurta, so much of the cloth is left on the side, which can be used to make these pads.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting way to use this cloth also.
And like a textile city, there's lot of textile cloth we getting from the industries itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes easier for us to actually procure it because I think it's a textile city, a lot of material available, so we just procure it directly from the industries then.
Okay. That's a very interesting and very useful way to use the cloth.
Yeah.
It
The
was
idea
too
is
perfect.
actually to reduce the cost while making it, because if we increase the cost of procuring raw materials, I don't think so that model is going to work as a non-profit, because we
No,
have
it
to
won't.
pay to the women also to stitch it and to put the
Yeah.
buttons. So
So this whole thing, I can see it will really make a whole lot of difference to quite a few women. First, the SSG group that you're talking about. Definitely, there will be a whole lot of income which they can get, plus the cloth which is actually would be just wasted and thrown, maybe that will be used. And of course, the biggest one is the women will get hygienic pads, and you also are giving them training to how to use them, how to clean them, how to dry them and reuse them.
Right.
That's a wonderful thing. And I think we have to really make more and more people get into this. For it's such an environmental friendly thing that we are having. This reusable material, sanitary pads.
And also what we believe is that when you're going out, so I'm just giving a disclaimer. So we're not going against any organization, but as an organization, we believe that when you're going out and distributing disposable products, so what's happening is you've given them at least, let's say, 10 pads per woman. But on an average, they're using 8 to 10 pads already in just one menstrual cycle. So what
Yes.
you're doing is that you've given it once, right? But what about the next month? What about the third month? What about the fourth month? So the period cycle, that vicious cycle is still continuing. So as an organization, what we want to do is we want to break that cycle. Okay, once you've given it, it's they don't have it. So again, they're back to those means. Or they just get so used to those products that they want to get those fancy products, which I think as an urban sector we can afford, and they can't.
Yeah, true. And so you're very sure that these women are reusing the pads, the cloth pads that you're giving them.
Yeah, so they're reusing for the reason is because whenever we go to a place, we always pick so we ask them voluntary. So we always have two female from that crowd whom we are connected to. So they have, for example, like I'm going, so they have my number, I have their number. So if they have an issue, then they call me. Or if I just want to follow up, I just like call them. So like that, like some of my team members are going. So they are connected to those people. So that's how we try to keep a track. But obviously, we cannot keep a track of every woman we've distributed, but we try to keep a track as a whole, like as small groups where we've gone.
I'm just curious to know, now that you're having these women whom you are trying to keep track, whether they're reusing it or not, are you also checking whether the rate of infection, vaginal infection, is come down in these women?
That we have only been able to we've only been able to track with those few places where we've had sessions like 7 to 8 sessions, because due to COVID, we have been very restricted to visit those places again and again.
Yeah,
So
true.
whatever those women tell us, we believe. But the places where we've gotten that access, that we've taken 8 sessions, we've taken 5 sessions, then we have really been able to track, because we give them this form in the start of the session of the first day and on the 5th session to again fill it to see the difference of what they've learned or what they've experienced the change. But other
And
small
you have,
things, it's very hard to right now to do it because they're not allowing us to come again.
yeah, I'm sure, but as the your reach increases and as the travel increases, you will be able to track it. And that will be a very important thing for you all to track, because there is a whole lasting consequence of this vaginal infection, which happens because of, this unsanitary or all these infections which just come up because of the sanitary pads which are being reused again because they try to save it, or when they're using unhygienic material for absorbing the blood, whatever. So you definitely are aiming to make a big difference. What would you say, when you all go to the village or when you try to have the sessions, how do you find the women? Are you able to talk to them? Are they able to talk to you about the menstrual periods or any problems that they have?
So the key point for us to go into any rural sector is to have an ice-breaking session in their language. So that's a key factor, because we want to make them comfortable with us for them to open up. So the ice-breaking session we do is very, very simple. So we ask them to touch their body parts. So if it's in Mumbai, we get a Marathi trainer to support us to say. So it's basically elbow, knee, forehead. So then we tell them stomach. So when we do it in Hindi, we say yoni, like lower abdomen. So we start picking up the session from there, because so they get comfortable with their bodies. And majority of the sessions we've seen, they'll start laughing when we'll say yoni, stomach, they'll not touch. So we pick up the
Embarrassing.
sessions from there. And secondly, what we do with our sessions is we never start giving out knowledge. What we do is we try to first ask their daily routine. When they get their periods or menstrual cycles, firstly, what it's called. So we've had sessions where it's called MC. In a home shelter, they call it MC. The menstrual cycle,
Yeah.
they call it MC. Some places they call it Masik. Some places they just say ki down or matlab, very normal names. Sometimes they'll just say ki main period mein hu. So first we try to understand ki kya hai. So when we only use those terms, so they understand what we're talking about. Secondly, we ask them during your MC or periods, आप क्या करते हो? What is your routine? We understand उस area का livelihood क्या है. Some places it's farming, some places it's only stitching, some places it's harvesting, anything. So we understand that what exactly is उस place का livelihood and how much are women involved in that. So first, we do only our sessions by asking them. So they answer half of our session. And that is when we start picking up कि अच्छा आप ये करते हैं, आपको ये नहीं करना चाहिए, आप अगर ये करेंगे तो it will be beneficial for you. आपको जैसे for example we ask them how many days of menstrual cycle do you have pain, do you have irritation. So अगर अच्छा आपको पेन होता तो आप क्या करते पेन हटाने के लिए? People will be like नहीं करते कुछ भी. We're like why don't you do it? So then we give them basic ways that आप गर्म पानी like they don't have the hot water bag, so we say आप बॉटल में गर्म पानी लेके अपने पेट पे रख लीजिए, या आप एक टोपिया या बाल्टी में you take hot water, put salt and put your leg if you're having a lot of leg cramps. So we just keep question, like they answer us and we just like explain them things on their answer to make things easier and not to keep it very informative because they're not going to listen. That's how we interact with the rural women. Because it's different from village to village. We do have a set module कि अच्छा ये बात करना है rural area में, but every village to village myths are different. Their lifestyle is very different. Things available is very different. Infrastructure is different. So we cannot like just be like ये करना चाहिए period में ये करना चाहिए ये नहीं करना चाहिए. We just can't talk like that in the rural sector.
So do they express a lot of reluctance to start talking about it, or slowly because of this ice breaking you're able to get the information?
I don't think so. In any area we've gone, we've had the issue of they're not opening up because we start asking them very general things first. Like very simple. आपको period what age did you get your periods, or how many days you have? Do you have pain or no? Something where we know it's not very inclusive. So once they start answering us, when we start talking, then we move towards what product are you using. So we don't tell them how to dispose it. We'll tell आप जो product use कर रहे हो आप कैसे फेंकते हो, and why do you throw it like this? Then they'll say हमको बोला गया है कि ये नहीं करेंगे तो a wild animal will come. So a myth comes while talking. So automatically we start touching towards the myth. Then they only themselves say we distribute it like this. So we'll be like, no, why don't you wrap it like this and distribute it? If someone says cloth, like, acha, how do you dry it? Like, that's how we pick up. So we've not seen reluctance from the females we've come across if we go this way.
Okay. So they're actually, they open up easier when you're talking about, yeah.
Because I personally feel if you just go with a set module and you just say do's and don'ts, it's not, they're not going to capture it, and plus they'll just not even ask questions. They'll be like, okay, they've said, we'll see what we want to do.
So what have the differences been in different villages? Can you just give one or two examples? Like,
for one thing is disposing. Every village I've seen a new way of disposing of their clothes. So I'll mention two of them. And I'm talking about disposable pads. Okay, so these are young girls who are using disposable pads, not even cloth pads. So one village, like I'm not going to mention any village's name because that might be a thing. So one village was told that they have to wash the disposable pads. They have to burn it अपने खेत के पीछे. The reason why, अगर बिना wash किए if they burn it, so some ghost or black magic will happen to them. And if they just throw it and if they don't burn it, then the wild animals will come. So that is one village ka this thing they were told कि आप ऐसा नहीं करोगे तो ये होगा. And the second, not a village, a home shelter. So it was a proper home shelter. So there they were asked to dispose it. They have to wash it, but then they again have to wrap it and they have to throw it. So I mean, we've noticed this in various, and there's a village in Gujarat. So there again, so there we've noticed that they are told they know everything, but they only change their pads only twice a day.
Twice a?
They only change their pads twice a day, like only morning once and before. That's it. So then obviously they're using the pads for 14 hours, we assume.
So it doesn't depend upon how much it gets soiled or
No,
anything.
but then it's just like, so we've realized that why is it that all those things happening? Maybe lack of product that
Product. It must
they
be.
don't have for
They have
pads.
only that much. They have only that many pads to be used in a month. And they can't use more. So must be one packet has to be used for 1 month maximum.
Yeah, that's what. And because the myths are very absurd from village to village when you just go across. Some villages are like, हमको पता है कपड़ा ऐसे use करते हैं. So we'll do it, don't worry. So they've told us, don't worry, we'll do it.
So how do you address these taboos?
So one thing while it comes to taboos, see for urban sector, we just say, is the ye reasons hoga, you guys can talk to your mothers. When it comes to a rural area, you should never question the taboos. Because if that girl goes back and she questions a taboo, those mothers of the village will never allow any another organization to come and take a session. Because for villages, I think their belief is what they live on. So we don't go against the taboos. We just try to tell if they say, just for example, ki wild animal aa jayega, you should burn it. So we just try giving them alternatives and try telling the reason that why you should do this. We never go against the taboos or myths. So that is something
Actually,
we're really careful about.
And this is this going against the taboo. It doesn't even work in the urban sector also. We have seen that. If you try telling a girl that you should not do such and such thing, she's going to try to tell her mother, but only if it comes from peers, she may listen to it. But otherwise, if it comes from a doctor, she's not going to listen. She says, no, what my mother tells is much more, is the right thing and not the doctor. So we have faced it a lot. So we also have to use these kind of mechanisms only when we try to tell any girl about what they should do during, because this washing the pads is seen very commonly, it's believed very strongly by a lot of people, even in the urban sector.
Even it's difficult in the urban sector. In the rural sector, it's easier because they're washing any product they use.
Exactly. So it is very interesting actually to, what about the other taboos which are there in the village? So how relevant or prominent they are, making a person sit, like so many times, even in the urban sector, it happens. Making a girl sit.
Is something we don't talk about because we can't tell ki, tum mat raho alag and everything. But we've seen that something called rest is not very prominent in these villages. Like they're still going to the khet when they call, they're still plogging. So when so one thing which we've very prominently seen that if by chance on their period days they're going to the field. So something which we've noticed that they do not carry a extra product to change. So even if they're there for 8 hours, even if they're there for 4 hours or 9 hours. So that is something we try to tell them, at least carry it. Because maybe, I mean, it's not in your hand. What if you start bleeding more and plus you're trying to plug, you're trying to work hard? That is something which is missing over every villages, whatever they do. So something I've leaving all those myths ki temple nahi jana, kitchen nahi jana and all that. I think they don't have, like for us, it's like, oh, period mein hai, so let's not, let's take rest. So that kind of a factor is not now resonating in the villages. they'll be like, okay, continue normal routine.
So, are you saying that they are not worried about what if there is an extra, if they bleed more, and then the
Yeah,
shame or the stigma attached to it is not there for them?
as in for them, I think they've never experienced something called staining. According to them, it's just like, ठीक है, if we bleed also extra, it's fine. But they don't have that. That's with every village. They don't have that alertness कि नहीं, if 6 hours ही pad use करना चाहिए, we should change it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think we can't blame them also. But if suppose they're going to the farm, right? I don't think so. There's that infrastructure where they can go and actually change their product also.
Yeah. So, but they're not embarrassed if it stains their clothes and all. Like here in a urban sector, the girl would really die of shame because what would people say? There's so much of shame
Very
and stigma
frank, the
attached.
kind of clothes we've seen them wearing, I don't think so. They actually stain that faster, like how we stain.
Okay. The kind of clothes they wear actually make a difference.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
we're also wearing, we are wearing a lot of clothes. I mean, like example, we're wearing jeans. Let's say we're wearing jeggings, right? We're wearing dresses, but
Yeah.
their clothes are very different. So they hard, like they stain very less compared to what we do in urban sector.
Acha, acha. Okay. Maybe that's a difference. You all have been promoting menstrual cups also. So how have you found it more useful, or how is the acceptability of this product?
So we as an organization, we try to give an informed choice. So we in the urban sector, and the rural sector is just the cloth pad we make. There's no cup session, there's no other pad session we do. But the urban sector, we're promoting 3 products. One is the cups, one is the cloth pad, which is available commercially, and the third is the biodegradable pads, which are there in the market. So whenever we give a session, we tell them the do's and don'ts of every product. We tell them if they want to switch it, how initially should they use it for their first period. For example, for a cup, if you're trying it for the first time, you should try it on your second day because the cervix length is most widened that time. But if you're using a cloth pad, we say use it for the fourth or fifth day, like switch gradually. So we try giving them a very informed choice that these are the reasons. So we tell them, ki, do you like again, online sessions are very interactive. So we ask them, do you know what is available in your original pads you're using right now? So we try to tell them that these things are available, like these are the ingredients, itna plastic hai, these many chemicals, and we're giving you an alternative options of how to use it and the don'ts of it and how to store it, how to wash it, how to reuse it. Later, it's your informed choice according to your convenience, which one do you want to switch. But over in the urban sector, we have seen people switching to the biodegradable pads and cups more than the cloth pads because cloth pads, people are like, yeah, we have to wash it, we have to soak it, and that is so. So major people are switching either to cups or the biodegradable pads.
Okay. So acceptability of cups has gone up.
Yeah, and people tend to switch to cups more easier because it's very kind of little hassle-free thing of removing it and washing it. But for cloth pad, it's little tedious if you would say you have to soak it and then wash it and dry it in the sun. All that is not there for the cups. So that way, and also cups has its own benefits of swimming, doing sports, everything.
Yeah. So true. So how you keep having this online and offline sessions. So what is the most rewarding aspect of it?
The most rewarding aspect is when someone messages us after the session or post the session that we have switched to this product, or when they message us, we want to order a product, could you advise us? Or we have ordered, can you tell us that how to insert it? Or I've ordered a medium size, or I've ordered a club. That's the most rewarding thing. We feel like, oh, one session, at least 2 people have switched.
Oh, that's great. But are they also concentrating a lot on menstrual hygiene and also trying to remove the stigma?
For
Are
what?
they talking about that also?
I didn't get a
Because
question.
see, are they also talking about, how do we improve our hygiene or things like that? Like
Yeah,
how do we wash the details they would like to know?
yeah. They really like to know. Generally, we cover all of it in the session, but obviously,
Mm-hmm.
everyone does not grasp it at one go. So they ask us how should we wash it, or washing comes very naturally, but people ask us how should we remove it, or let's say we've washed it, and so there are
Mm-hmm.
questions like it's raining, right? So
How
how
to
should
try?
we dry it? So then
Yeah.
questions like that. So we have a lot of questions like that. But also at the same time, something more rewarding also is when we have men in our sessions, online sessions, and even offline.
Okay.
And when they also understand, because we had a session recently where men were asking us every possible question about their products. So what happened? We feel very nice when because when they're also aware, they walk up to their friends, like girl as their friends, and they're like, "Are you using a cup? Oh, why are you not using these? Have these one?" That's also very rewarding when an opposite gender is actually promoting these things.
Is it because they don't want the women to talk? Because I have seen in my antenatal practice, the men would give more detail about the menstrual history, the first day of the period, the last day, how much the bleeding was, you know, but he won't let his wife talk about it.
See, those are still there in the families, but like talking about our generation, this Gen X, so they're also like, why you still using a plastic pad or why you? So they promote girls. Ki, why don't you switch? So I've had friends, okay, so we've had general candid discussions, but later they are doing video calls with their friends and they're sitting with other people and asking, you know, so the friend I think was texting right now, Akshat, so he did that. Every time, once he got to know everything, every time he would go on a call, this thing he would discuss. Are you using this? Or do you know this? Do you know? So like that, we've couple of friends who have actually done it with their own groups. So
Mm-hmm. So that definitely they would help the women or the girlfriends around them feel more confident and capable also, especially in the rural areas where it is very important, because so many times, because of the stigma, or especially if they are not able to talk about it, the pain which is associated with it really depresses the person a lot.
agree.
And uh, how much aware are they about, before they start the period? How much are the girls aware about it?
So that's really that's exactly the point. So basically, a lot of women or girls they don't know. So we have also started from last year that we try to give little basic education. I'm not saying about the entire uterus to 9 to 13 year old of boys and girls both,
Hmm.
so that they're aware of basic key period product kya hota hai, why is a pad used in a very simple language for kids, but we don't tell them ki ovaries travel and blood come out because that's very high. So we try to
Yeah.
educate more and more, even the kids. And when we have sessions with, like, we have sessions as 45-year-old plus or any women, we always
Hmm.
emphasize that you should let your kids know about it. And even if they've crossed menopause, we still tell them about sustainability. So they pass it down on the line.
Mm-hmm. That's very nice. Do you think this normalizing these conversations about menstruation will remove the shame and stigma attached with it?
I think gradually it's going to start reducing is because when we saw a small change with, we did a activity last year with 9 to 13-year-old boys and girls. So we had boys also doing activities with us. So we had an activity, we'd ask them to do a play, like it was all online, to gift a sanitary product without a wrapped thing, like without in a black polythene, and just to
Yeah.
speak something or to make a play that why you gifting it. So the idea is then we got little feedbacks that like from people that he's become a little more mature, like he's understanding what period is. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
that when we start training the actually the growing people, So slowly they will bring you change into normalizing.
Yeah.
Because when they're
True.
gonna get it normal and they're gonna be like, no, it's normal, they're not gonna question it. So it's going to become normal.
Yeah. I really think this is a very important aspect because creating menstrual hygiene will also equip an individual with an understanding about how to take care of their own body. And this preventive aspect is very important. And also this conversation that people have with about the periods and about the body parts that you were talking about is also very important. We feel giving the child the right language so that even when something as serious as child sexual abuse happening and they don't know what to talk about because they don't have the language, they don't know the body part that can be mentioned. And when you are talking like this, definitely the young women who are menstruating now are going to be mothers very soon. They will be equipped to talk about it to their child and normalize the conversation around the body parts, which will also help them in preventing child sexual abuse, is what we truly believe in. And we at Sakshi, we are having this preventive approach to bring about gender equality and also to prevent child sexual abuse. As you know, from Ministry of Youth Affairs and with the Association of NSS, we are carrying out this program to prevent child sexual abuse. And we are taking this message across the 40,000 colleges across India.
That's great.
We are working towards it. It's a long way
I
because
can
we want to reach.
understand.
I know we are all in the same boat, trying to reach as many people as possible. So, would you like to call yourself a Rakshan who will prevent child sexual abuse?
So not in a very direct way, but indirectly by normalizing talks, by telling them what their body is. I think that is when we could call ourselves. And definitely we can understand the 40,000 colleges is because we're trying to get with the ministry to involve this cloth pad making training and this thing with the ASHA workers module.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand how tough it goes when you try to hit the state government, when the central government, and just do a mass. And obviously, we understand that when ministry is one way where you can get a mass effect.
Yes, absolutely. It just helps us to reach out to more people. That
Yeah.
is the very important thing why the ministry plays a role. And through with the NSS, we can reach out to a lot of very motivated youth. We can reach out to. So that is what our basic aim is. You're doing a wonderful job. It is something which I did in a very small way when I was going to some villages. But the amount of work that you are doing is superb.
Thank you so
Really
much.
congratulations.
Really love to collaborate with Sakshi with the sessions, definitely.
Thanks a lot. And we would invite you to come to our sessions. And we have a Sunday webinar. You can come and have a look also. And any other time you want to remain connected, please reach out to us.
Definitely, definitely. We could any day combine our sessions to put across menstrual health and let's
Exactly.
say bad touch, everything together to the females.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot, Nandini.
Thank you
It
so
was
much.
a talking to you. And I learned so much about how you reach out to different people. It's amazing. Villages, different villages that you're reaching out to.
Thank you so much. It just came organically to us, but like seniors like you are the people we actually learn things from. So thank you so much.